Notice the right to free exercise and diplomatic immunity from secular jurisdiction. Josiah Holtam, August 31, 2022. Notice of plaintiff's God-given right to free exercise and plaintiff's intent to rely upon and assert God's law using the pure Cambridge Authorized 1611 King James Version Bible as evidence of law. Plaintiff files this notice to show that his deeply held tenets fall within the ambit of the Free Exercise Clause, and this court should evaluate whether the unwritten ceremonial rising custom or requirement to swear an oath imposes any burden on the free exercise of plaintiff's religion, and whether the judiciary presents an interest of sufficient magnitude to override the interest claiming protection. Relevant facts. The door of the Free Exercise Clause stands tightly closed against any governmental regulation of religious beliefs as such. Cantwell v. Connecticut, 310 U.S. 296, 303, 1940. Government may neither compel affirmation of a repugnant belief, Tokeso v. Watkins, 367 U.S. 488, 1961, nor penalize or discriminate against individuals or groups because they hold religious views abhorrent to the authorities, Fowler v. Rhode Island, 345 U.S. 67, 1953, Fowler v. Rhode Island, 345 U.S. 67, 1953, nor employ the taxing power to inhibit the dissemination of particular religious views, Murdoch v. Pennsylvania, 319 U.S. 105, 1943, Follett v. McCormick, 321 U.S. 573, and 1944. The free exercise and enjoyment of religious profession and worship without discrimination or preference shall forever be allowed in this state, and no person shall be rendered incompetent to be a witness on account of his opinions on matters of his religious belief, but the liberty of conscience, hereby secured, shall not be so construed as to excuse acts of licentiousness or justify practices inconsistent with the peace or safety of this state. The more indignant and self-seeking market profiteers and the devious entities derived or those to be devised by them inside the realm of commerce do stand hereby convicted of idolatry by an ordained ambassador of heaven. Plaintiff is forbidden by his sincere religious beliefs from worshipping idols of any pagan, civil religion, as though such persons in power were superior beings, and then placing these persons before plaintiff's God. Plaintiff believes that he should not kneel before, prostrate themselves, bow down to, or stand for any worldly entity, as this would be a direct violation of the first commandment. Heaven forbid. No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon, money. Gospel of Matthew 6 verse 24. Those that truly love God will make it their constant care and endeavor to keep His commandments, particularly those that relate to His worship. Those that love God and keep those commandments shall receive grace to keep His other commandments. Gospel worship will have a good influence upon all manner of gospel obedience. God has mercy in store for such. Even they need mercy and cannot plead merit, and mercy they shall find with God, merciful protection in their obedience and a merciful recompense of it. This mercy shall extend to thousands, much further than the wrath threatened to those that hate Him, for that reaches but to the third or fourth generation. The streams of mercy run now as full, as free, and as fresh as ever. Notes. Any attempted compulsion by the government, the state, or this court to force plaintiff to perform what he believes to be a religious act, especially one contrary to his faith, absent any compelling state interest and without having utilized the least restrictive means test, would result in an abuse of discretion by this court, a deprivation of plaintiff's God-given right to free exercise, which is a violation of the first article of amendment to the United States Constitution and may even result in religious discrimination. Plaintiff's exercise of his deeply held spiritual beliefs and training cannot be held to be a contemptuous act. The plaintiff simply must do what their faith requires. Because plaintiff's exercise of this religious freedom is often misunderstood and courts might improperly take offense where none is intended, this message is to be plaintiff's attempt to mitigate any misunderstanding by giving sufficient advance notice to this court so that it can adjust its conduct accordingly to prevent any potential deprivation of plaintiff's religious freedom, as might have been the case if the persons in Community for Creative Nonviolence v. Hess, Community for Creative Nonviolence v. Hess, 1984, had notified the judges of their religious beliefs in advance. Declaration of Facts and Determinations. I do declare the firmly held and evidence-based belief that to coerce or be coerced into serving a false god any besides the Creator of heaven and earth is committing the sin of idolatry. Commerce, whence it has become the realm of the dead, a domain in a debtor's prison which is maintained and propagated by certain parasitic entities in schemes of social stratification. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I ho set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Deuteronomy 30 verse 19. I am a living, breathing, flesh and blood, self-actualized being of eternal essence embodied. I do not, cannot, and will not consent to subject status under such bogus, secular jurisdiction, nor do I consent to the heinous, artificial limits found therein. Conclusions. The beforementioned types of hypocrisy and idolatry severely infringes upon plaintiff's free exercise of religion. The Satan hesitates not in tempting those to disobey God's word, and plaintiff certainly will not succumb to such temptation. All rights reserved. Data cited from Temple of Bolbom in the archives of the International Free Church, Temple of Light and Life at https://niaco.wixsite.com/templeoflightnlife.